"Oh, God, help us!" cried Mrs. Hastings in despair, and I began to think we were done for at last, trapped like 2 rats in a hole. I now began to shiver so violently that the dear woman forgot her own apprehensions and proceeded to comfort me. "Someone will find us," she said. "Someone will come, and if we have to spend 2 days in here before your uncle returns, well, we will be miserable, I warrant, but we shan't die." My trembling did not subside, however, for in truth it was born not so much of fear, but of guilt. The small flame of the melting candle struggled to keep its glow amid the hot wax, and finally turned blue and died, leaving us both in darkness. And I knew that if I were to ever tell my guilty secret, it must be now. "Mrs. Hastings, I need to ask for your forgiveness. Yours and my uncle's, too." "Why, child, whatever for? What could you have possibly done that would make you talk so?" As I continued to weep, she put her arms around me and rocked me like a babe, my tears moistening the front of her shirt. "It's all my fault. The hand, the ghost. Everything that's happened lately is because of me." Slowly, she stopped rocking, but held me still. I felt her great chest expand as she took a breath, and finally said, "You brought something green into this house." "Yes," I said, pulling away from her then, and in the refuge of darkness confessed what I had done. "I did not think that my mother's picture in the green silk frame could do any harm," I finished, beginning to cry all over again. "I had vowed never to take it out of the trunk where my uncle might see it and be upset." Once again, I felt the good woman sigh, and she patted my back. "I think I knew we could not keep Jade Green away forever," she said. "At some time or another, someone would bring the color into the house again, or we could find something left behind by that poor child. I wish you had obeyed your uncle's instructions, though. How much simpler things would have been. But I don't know. Had I been in your place, that I could have left behind a picture frame given me by my mother either. So we will have to deal with it the best we can." It was in that moment we heard footsteps. Why we both did not cry out at once, I don't know. But they were not the footsteps of my uncle, and indeed sounded so strange, so secretive, that we both stopped breathing and lifted our heads to listen. The sound came from the back porch, hesitant, soft footsteps, and then the creak of the door as it opened. All was silence, and Mrs. Hastings was about to call out when I clutched her arm, yet I knew not why. There were 3 more footsteps. A pause. 3 more. "They're out, then?" we heard Charles murmur. "So much better for me." Mrs. Hastings sharply drew in her breath. The soft footsteps continued, a few at a time, like a man cautiously making his way about. Then the creak of the stairs to the 2nd floor. I had visions of the hand following along beside him on the banister, pointing him back down again, beckoning toward the door of the root cellar where we were trapped. In a while, though, all noise stopped. We didn't know if Charles was upstairs or down, still in the house or gone. Mrs. Hastings began to cry silently in fright. "He's up to no good, you can bet that," she wept. "Shh," I whispered in her ear. "We have to be quiet. If he sees that the door to the root cellar is locked, he won't guess we're here." It was perhaps 20 minutes before we heard Charles's footsteps on the stairs again. He seemed to be making a slow tour of the downstairs rooms. We could hear doors opening, checking to see if we were in Uncle's study, out in the sunroom, the parlor. The footsteps came back to the kitchen again and stopped just outside the cellar door. "Out for a walk, are they?" he murmured. "Well, when they come back, they're in for a surprise." We heard the back door open, and a minute later, his carriage rolled away. Did the hand somehow know he was coming, I wondered? Had the ghost of Jade Green purposefully locked us in here so that Charles would not guess we were down in the cellar? Was it possible that the hand was no enemy after all? Just the sad ghost of a girl whose life had become so unbearable that she decided to end it? But just as Mrs. Hastings and I began to sigh with relief that Charles was gone, the sigh turned into a gasp, and the gasp became a sharp cry. For both of us, at the same time, smelled smoke.